Hey guys, Caleb Giddings, aka Mr. Revolver here, and today we're going to talk about the pros and cons of carrying a 9mm revolver for personal protection or using one for home defense. Now, first off, some of you who may not be familiar with revolvers are like, there are 9mm revolvers out there, and yes, there are. There's actually more of them than you might think, and the idea has been around for quite some time. The idea of a revolver that accepts common semi-automatic pistol cartridges is actually over 100 years old, going all the way back to the Smith & Wesson and Colt models of 1917, which were produced because the U.S. Army entering World War I didn't have enough 1911s to issue to everybody, and they needed a handgun for a bunch of people. So Smith and Colt were contracted to produce model 1917 revolvers that used half moon clips to accept 45 ACP cartridges. And those guns are still used, samples of those guns are still around to this day. There was the 1937 Brazilian contract that Smith made for Brazil that also used 45 ACP half moon clips. And then the idea of this revolver has existed for quite some time. Even in the 1980s, Ruger made a Speed 6, I believe it was a Speed 6 in 9mm. Smith & Wesson made a very unique 9mm K-frame that didn't require moon clips to function and used samples of that, now cost $80 gajillion. And to this day, these guns exist. There are two kind of formats that you'll see 9mm revolvers in. You will see very large format competition guns like the Smith & Wesson 929, and then kind of nothing in the middle, and then you will see small format carry guns like the Taurus 905 or the Ruger LCR in 9mm. Now, Taurus, who I work for, also does have some medium frame 9mm, and we'll talk about the 692 and its cool switch cylinder capability as well. But that's just a little bit of backstory on the history of revolvers that accept semi-automatic pistol cartridges. They've been around for a while. It's a well-established idea, and lots of people really like it. I happen to be one of those people. But now let's talk about some of the reasons why you might want to get a revolver chambered in 9mm for concealed carry or personal protection in the home. And the first reason for that is the ammo. 9mm is cheap. 9mm is a lot cheaper than 38 Special, for example. If you go and price those out, especially right now, 9mm is almost to like 2008 prices. You can go on popular retailers and find cases of 1,000 rounds of your generic blasting 9mm ammo for like 200 fuzzy rubber duckies, right? Like, it's not a lot of money to get 9mm ammo, whereas an equivalent volume of 38 Special is probably going to be 350 to 400, and that makes a difference. It makes a difference because with the 9mm, you get more bang for your buck, which means you can practice more. And if you practice more, that means you're going to get better at shooting this gun. And all of that's a good thing. So reason number one to get a 9mm revolver is it's a 9mm. That's pretty good. Reason number two is if you are new to revolvers and you already have a bunch of semi-automatic centerfire 9mm pistols, you probably already have a lot of ammo. So it's not like you have to then spend more money to invest in a new caliber. So right there, we are saving money and we're able to get more practice and more training reps in. That is two really good reasons right off the bat. Now, from a personal protection concealed carry standpoint, there's another reason that people don't talk about because terminal ballistics is complicated and people don't really understand it. But the following is a scientifically factual statement. The terminal ballistics of .357 Magnum and modern 9mm defensive hollow points are so similar that there is no advantage to carrying a .357 Magnum over a 9mm. That is a fact. This is not a debate. Don't come at me in the comments with, but my .357 blah, blah, blah. The problem with .357 Magnum is it is a tremendously inefficient cartridge. all of that muzzle flash and noise and recoil that you get is just powder blowing up outside of the gun that's not actually doing anything to make the bullet work better. On the flip side, the 9mm is an incredibly efficient cartridge, which means out of a compact 9mm revolver, like a Taurus 905 with a 3-inch barrel, you are getting almost 357 Magnum ballistics without the penalty of shooting a 357 Magnum. I would shoot 9mm all day out of a small frame 9mm revolver when out of that same size, shape, weight gun, I'd probably shoot 2 cylinders of full house 357s before I'm like, you know what? I'm good. I don't want to do this anymore. It's way better. You get equivalent ballistics without massive recoil penalty. And that, my friends, is really, really cool. And that actually leads me to sort of one of the other related things. So if you take a gun like this Taurus 905 in 9mm, and you were to say compare this gun and its barrel length to a 4-inch semi-automatic pistol, you would find they have the same amount of actual barrel. This is the amount of rifled barrel length on this pistol. On your Glock 19, your Taurus G3, you get the same amount of rifled barrel length because they include the chamber as part of the barrel length, and the chamber doesn't really do anything for the bullet's accuracy, but anyway, blah, 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 blah. The point is that 9mm cartridges out of this 3-inch revolver are going to give me very similar velocity and terminal ballistics to what I would get with the same cartridge out of a 4-inch semi-automatic pistol. So you get ballistic advantages. It's way easier to shoot than a 357, but gives you damn near 357 Magnum levels of performance, all in a compact package. So that right there, real good reasons to get and carry a 9mm revolver. So what are the reasons not to do it? Well, the first is the most obvious one, capacity, right? If you're already carrying a gun like a Taurus GX4 carry or a 365 or something like that, you've got like 15 rounds in your gun, and it's honestly not much bigger than a small format revolver, right? So you've got more ammo, it's doing the same thing, you can do more stuff, you can put optics on it, that sort of thing. These are not for everyone. I will fully admit that carrying a revolver, much less a revolver in a non-revolver caliber, is not for everyone. So that would be one reason not to do it. Another reason not to do it, and one that I actually do feel pretty strongly about, is there is an inherent weakness to 9mm revolvers, and that's these. Not the ammo, but the way that the ammo is being carried. Moon clips. So moon clips are the only way that these guns will actually work. You can fire most of them without the moon clip, but then you have to poke or pry the empty cartridges or the empty casings out, and that's pretty time consuming and not really conducive to good training habits or anything like that. So the moon clips then introduce a potential point of failure. I've had moon clips get bent and tie up the gun. Just this past weekend, I had 2 moon clips break completely where the little clippy part that uses spring tension to retain the cartridge just snapped, and I was like, well, that one's dead. Moon clips can be sensitive to the type of brass that you're using. They'll like some brass better than other types of brass. So it introduces a potential point of failure into a system that is half of the point of carrying a revolver is that it has fewer potential points of failure, right? So moon clips are a potential point of failure, and you might want to consider that before you get started carrying one of these guns. Now, I will say this. One advantage to the moon clip, especially if you're carrying a 9mm revolver, is that you get to say, I need more clips for my 9, and you are technically correct, and that is the best kind of correct you could possibly be. But other than that, we have 2 pretty big downsides. We have capacity, and we have the moon clips as a potential point of failure. What I would say is that if you are curious about a revolver, if it's one of those things where you're like, I kind of want to get into revolver shooting, but I don't know if I want to fully lean into it, then what you should do is get a 9mm revolver, and a specific one at that. And this I'm saying not because I work for Taurus, but mostly because I think this gun is really cool. What you need to do is get yourself a Taurus 692. This is available in 3-inch ported, 2.5-inch unported, 6-inch ported, and an executive grade version. But what makes the 692 so cool is the switch cylinder capability. So what you do is you open up the cylinder like this, and then you press this little button right here on the side of the cylinder and pull the cylinder forward. This is the 9mm cylinder. It requires moon clips to function. It comes right out. You can grab the 357 Magnum cylinder, drop it in, and then shoot 38s and 357 mags. To me, this is the perfect gateway drug revolver because it allows you, if you're that guy with 47 semi-automatic 9mm pistols and 3 PCCs and 42 ARs, this is the gun that allows you to cross that over into the revolver world without a significant penalty because you can shoot all your 9mm ammo out of it. And then, if you decide you really want to go balls deep into the revolver world, swap the cylinder, put a 38 cylinder on here, and start buying 38 and 357 revolvers. Also, it's got a pretty good trigger on it. But would I carry this gun? Well, the answer to that is yes. Yes, I would, because I have, just like I have also carried this Taurus 905. Now, I tend to prefer to carry revolvers in traditional revolver calibers, but I think that there are benefits to those 9mm guns. To me personally, the benefits to 9mm don't outweigh the drawbacks. I don't like carrying guns that rely on moon clip to function for personal protection. The ballistic advantages of 9mm aren't that appealing to me over the terminal performance that I get out of traditional revolver cartridges, but they are absolutely viable choices for personal protection and concealed carry. And again, I especially think that they're viable if you're sort of like that one gun guy, right? You've got your semi-automatic striker-fired pistol that you carry every day. You've got one for, one medium-sized one subcompact one, and then you're like, you know what though? I would like something that I can just kind of throw in a fanny pack, and I don't have to necessarily worry about like a specific holster or something like that. Get a DA revolver. Get the 2-inch Taurus 905 and throw that in there. Use whatever ammo you would use in your other carry guns and put a set of Crimson Trace laser grips on it, and you're off to the races, man. That's where I think this gun shines. I think the 9mm revolvers in a small format shine as a backup to a backup, as a throw them in a fanny pack and go to the grocery store kind of gun, over something like a Taurus GX4 carry where you have that striker fire trigger, you need to make sure that trigger is blocked. From a strictly concealed carry standpoint, I don't think the medium frames like the 692 make a whole lot of sense. At this size and weight, I could be carrying a G3 or a 1911 or all sorts of other semi-automatic pistols that hold more ammo and are easier to shoot, right? That's 100% true. I carry this because I like revolvers and I prefer to shoot revolvers, so that's why I carry this gun. But I will be the first person to tell you that this has very few inherent advantages at this size, frame, and weight over a traditional semi-automatic pistol. But it does have one big one, and that's that it's cool as hell. Like, let's be real. This is a Blade Runner kind of vibe. Like, I love this gun. But anyway, so let's just do a quick recap here. Advantages. Uses existing cheap ammo. It's cheap to train with, and thus that makes it cheaper to get good with. You can get to say fun things like, I want clips for my 9. You get a ballistic advantage because 9mm out of these revolvers gives you very close to 357 terminal ballistics without the recoil penalty, and that's really effing cool if that's something that you care about. The disadvantages are really the inherent disadvantages of a revolver. Capacity, tougher to shoot, and then in this case, the dependency on moon clips to function, which are fragile and introduce a failure point. Ultimately, the decision is up to you. For me, I usually carry revolvers in traditional revolver calibers, and I leave the 9mm for 9mm semi-automatic pistols. This video does not touch on competition, which is actually where I think 9mm revolvers really shine for a number of reasons, but we can talk about that later. That is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, ring the bell, do all of the things. And thanks for watching.